Welcome one and all to the Cinegeeks Podcast, where movies, TV, and all things geek collide. I'm Roy, still joined by my lovely co-host Angela.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hey Angela. And for today's episode, we will be talking about two of last year's most decorated films.
Yes.
Okay. First one being Poor Things, directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, screenplay by Tony McNamara, based on the novel of the same name by Alasdair Gray, starring Emma Stone, Mark Ruffalo, Willem Dafoe, and Rami Youssef. And the other one being The Holdovers, directed by Alexander Payne, written by David Hemmingson, starring Paul Giamatti, Davine, Joy Randolph, and Dominic Sessa in his first starring role.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so full-on Oscar mode tayo ngayon.
Yes, Oscar season is upon us.
It's upon us. Silang linggo na lang. And the 96th Academy Awards are upon us.
Almost 100 na pala, no?
Yes, konti na lang, 100 years na si Oscar. Kailan ba yung last time na Oscar or sabihin natin prestige yung pinag-usapan natin?
Barbenheimer
pa?
Oh but that was summer of last year. July, back when we were just starting.
Mm-hmm. Pero nung pinag-usapan natin yung Barbenheimer noon, did you have an inkling na prestige na yung dalawang pinanood natin noon?
Oo.
Oppenheimer, sige. Pero yung Barbie.
Well, because of Greta Gerwig, yes. Oo, kasi lagi naman siyang, yung name niya naman is often in the pool of best directors and best picture. Yeah. But before we continue, of course, we'd like to remind everyone who hasn't done so to follow our pod wherever you listen to podcasts, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and YouTube.
Also, set your players to automatically download our new episodes so you don't miss out on our fun Cinegeek conversations.
Please don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Threads, and X, aka Twitter, so you can join in on the Cinegeeks conversation. Also, visit our website, www.cinegeekspod.com, for the latest in movie and TV news and reviews.
All right. Well, with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about our first movie for this episode, Poor Things. Brought back to life by an unorthodox scientist, a young woman runs off with a lawyer on a whirlwind adventure across the continents. Free from the prejudices of her times, she grows steadfast in her purpose to stand for equality and liberation. Okay, so Ange, what did you think of Poor Things?
Ooh, where do I even begin?
I know.
Well, let's start with Yorgos Lanthimos.
Okay.
Kasi this is one of his most anticipated films. Ang pinaka-last niya yata na project was The Favorite.
Yun yung last parang contender niyang ginawa.
Also starring Emma Stone.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think Olivia Colman won for Best Actress in that movie.
Let me confirm. Pero sige, go ahead. Continue.
From the track record naman of Yorgos Lanthimos, I was already expecting something bizarre and out of the box. Very unconventional and experimental. And I was not disappointed.
Yeah.
Kasi sobrang grabe talaga yung imagination. Alam mo, I can't even imagine kung anong tumatakbo sa utak nitong taong to.
True.
Grabe yung lens niya ng pagtingin niya sa mundo. It's almost fantastical and caricature-like, di ba?
Oo. Pero nakakatawa kasi merong element of the mundane na kasama yung fantastical view niya sa mundo eh. Ang weird nung juxtaposition nga. Nakakatawa nga siya eh. Parang paradoxical nung mix niya na sobrang fantastical. Yung imagery na gamit.
Yeah.
Pero nilalagay niya in everyday mundane situations yung fantastical na ganun. Pero go ahead.
And one more thing is, whenever we watch a Yorgos Lanthimos film, parang talagang kailangan natin gamitin yung big words eh.
Oo.
Kasi grabe talaga yung rurok ng imahinasyon niya. Ibang klase.
Oo eh. At saka ang nakakatawa sa kanya, hindi lang siya full of palang being imaginative. ang kanyang recurring na theme niya pagdating sa mga scene niya is how stunted people react to changing times, even yung changing situations nila, na parang hindi, kahit sila alam na nila kung ano yung dapat nilang gawin, pero nagdududa pa rin sila dun sa sarili nila kung magagawa ba nila to. Sometimes the protagonists in his stories end up succeeding in parang getting that, kumbaga, yung arc nila completed. Like we're gonna point out later on. Pero ang dami ding mga ibang mga scene niya na parang ends on a boom, biglang matatapos na lang siya bigla.
Have you seen his other movies?
Matagal nang hindi ko napapanood. Pero yung The Lobster, pinanood ko siya. Yun, sobrang weird nung scening yun. Kasi, for those who haven't seen The Lobster, it's the one that stars Colin Farrell and Rachel Weisz. So, merong isang society na parang kailangan nilang makahanap ng romantic partner after a certain amount of time. Pero pag hindi sila nakahanap ng partner nila, magagawin silang hayop.
Okay.
Yung ganon. So, doon pa lang kita mo na yung kanyang willingness to use surreal imagery in telling a fable about the mundane
the human condition.
The human condition, kasi katulad sa Lobster, na sinabi na, okay, parang dating, ganyan. Tapos pag hindi ka nakakuha ng partner mo, gagawin kang hayop. I mean, that's essentially what happens to old maids or ano ba yung katumbas ng lalaki na old maid. But
Spinster man?
Spinster. Okay. Yung mga ganun, na parang
monghe, parang ganun.
Parang ganun, something like that. Na kapag hindi ka na nakahanap ng partner in life, basically, ang turing sa'yo is paraya ka na.
Yeah. So the anxiety.
Yung anxieties
of
ng
growing old alone.
Yon. Na parang you'd rather become an animal instead. Instead of growing old alone. Yung ganun na-translate niya into fantastical imagery, yung anxieties ng tao, the human condition.
Yeah. And not to mention, he always looks at it from the perspective of comedy. So
very dark comedy.
Kaya kahit na sobrang heavy and sobrang serious nung mga themes ng mga movies niya, he makes it a point na to soften it. Or if you just look beyond the surreal, the fantastical, and the dark humor, makikita mo kung ano yung statement niya.
I wouldn't say soften it, pero siguro pwede mong sabihin na
palatable?
Yeah, I guess I'll use that word. Kasi, I mean, whenever there's something na humans don't understand, their automatic default mode is to either be mad at it or laugh at it. Yon. So, sa kanya, pinapakita niya na pag may hindi maintindihan yung mga tao or siya bilang lente niya as director, collaborator with his frequent writers, papakita niya na parang, okay, I don't understand this. This is absurd. Yon. Na yung mga parang, why do we need to conform to society's norms? Diba? Parang, bakit ganun yung tao? Especially dito sa Poor Things. Na parang, ito, yung pinagtatawanan niya yung basically, yung life cycle ng isang bata hanggang pagtanda.
Actually, I didn't get that pinagtatawanan niya.
Sige, I wouldn't say pinagtatawanan. More na parang hinahanap niya yung absurdity in growing old. In growing up. Not old, growing up.
Coming of age.
Coming of age.
Yeah.
Yon.
Yes, kasi minor spoilers. Pero pinakita naman to sa sa trailer. But Emma Stone is basically this woman na parang stunted siya. So, i-reveal dun sa movie kung bakit. And it's a very interesting premise. Tapos, yung coming of age niya, parang she began with learning how to walk.
Oh, literally.
And then becoming an upstanding woman in society.
Yes.
So, mapapanood natin siya dun sa span of how long is the runtime of this movie?
2 hours and 21 minutes.
2 hours and 21 minutes, makikita na natin yung buong life cycle of a woman in society. So, that was interesting. And this coming from Yorgos Lanthimos, a man. Although, this was an adapted screenplay from a book.
Yes.
I'm aware na minention mo nga kanina. But I don't think ganun ka-fantastical and almost, what do you call this? Almost Pythonesque yung nakasulat dun sa libro. I think yun na yung signature ni Yorgos.
Actually, kung titignan mo yung libro mismo.
For the record, we haven't read the book.
No, we have not. It actually looks very absurd itself, yung libro eh. Ayun, no? So, parang dun pa lang sa source material niya eh. Medyo ano na eh.
May surrealism
na sa agad yung spin niya. Actually, mas ano nga eh. Mas parang ayaw ko sabihin imaginative kasi parang napaka-deductive ng term na yun eh. Sobrang otherworldly. Oo. Nung production design.
Sabi ko sa'yo, puro big word.
Oo. Nung mundong ginagalawan ni Bella Baxter, which is yung si Emma Stone.
Even the set design, yung oversized furniture against their size. Alam mo yon?
Nakakatawa nga kasi para siyang Wes Anderson eh. Parang may pagka parang what if Wes Anderson took on a Yorgos Lanthimos script? Na hindi na symmetrical yung yung camera movements or whatever, pero yung set design, yung parang mukhang Grand Budapest, yung likuran na yung pag nasa sea sila, kitang-kita mo na parang parang paper mache yung mga dagat na gano'n. Yung ganong
parang stop animation.
Oo, parang lalo na doon sila sa part ng nasa Greece sila. Na parang scale model yung mukha nung hotel nila. Yung mga ganong touches
Lisbon, di ba?
Hindi, may nagpunta sila sa Greece din.
Okay. By the way, I love the setting card. What do you call that? Yung parang, yung, hindi siya photo eh. Or hindi siya parang superimposed text. Napaka-unique nga ng touch ni Yorgos kasi kahit yung parang chapters na nagbo-bookend dun sa mga places kung saan sila pumupunta. It's animated, Pythonesque, very Terry Gilliam.
We have to attribute that not just to Yorgos Lanthimos pero kay Tony McNamara din. Kasi siya yung screenwriter ng sine.
Yes.
So, of course, syempre, captain of the ship siya. Pero wala namang magagamit na parang lalabas on screen if there is no writer. Okay, speaking of writer pala, or the writing on screen, of course, you would agree if I say na sobrang heavy ng leaning ng movie into feminist themes.
Yeah.
And what it means to, be a woman in an ever-evolving world na nag-iiba yung definition ng what a woman should be. Ganon. Ikaw, how did you find the depiction of feminism in this film?
Actually, pagdating sa feminism, hindi ko naman ina-expect na about feminism siya kasi para siyang sci-fi nung umpisa eh. Kasi coming in, wala akong pinanood na trailer masyado. And hindi ako masyado nagbabasa, although lumabas na siya last year. But pagdating naman dun sa depiction ng feminism, I like na tinakil niya yung mga misogynistic views about women during the time. Especially kapag dun sa part ni Mark Ruffalo na parang he looked at Bella like a plaything. Ganon. Na kapag habang binibigay ni Bella kung ano yung gusto niya, okay siya. Pero nung hindi na niya makuha yung gusto niya, parang nagbago din yung tingin niya. Naging parang full-on hatred. Yun yung isa sa mga stand out sa akin na statements about feminism.
Yan. At saka may isang din, sige, now that we're diving into, I guess, spoilers, kasi ang hirap pag-usapan na itong scene na to without going into detail. Kasi nga, it depicts actually somewhat complete journey of life nung character ni Emma Stone, si Bella. There's a part here na, well, that may be controversial for some people. They might consider this parang bakit pinapakita sa scene yung mga ganyang bagay. There's a part in the movie na after they get kicked off the ship nung bakasyon nila ni Mark Ruffalo. By the way, yung pangalan ng character niya si Duncan Wedderburn. Yan. Yung nung ma-kick off the ship si Bella at saka si Duncan. Nasa France sila. Tapos naka-encounter si Bella ng isang brothel owner played by
Catherine Hunter.
Ayun. Catherine Hunter, which
as Swiney.
Si Swiney. By the way, siya si Edie Carn, yung nanay ni Sybil Carn sa Andor. yung laging nagtatanong kung kailan siya kukuha ng trabaho. Anyway, yung na-encounter ni Bella, itong si Swiney, na-open up pa yung eyes niya doon sa women, taking agency of themselves, basically.
Although, and their sexuality.
Tama yon. Ikaw, siguro, looking at it from a Filipino perspective, kasi obvious na mula doon pa lang sa yung French, yung setting, tapos of course yung uso yun nung ganong panahon, yung mga ganong brothel. How do you think that part in the film would speak or not speak to Filipino audiences in terms of yung relating the message of women taking agency of their sexuality?
Have you ever wondered why so many sitcom characters deliver babies inside elevators?
Or how on TV a second blow to the head can reverse amnesia?
Welcome to the Sitcom Study, the podcast where we break down 4 sitcom episodes that share a common trope or cliche. So if you want to critically examine how Carlton lost his virginity,
or discover how sitcom kids mysteriously age several years between seasons,
or dissect the sibling bond between Blossom and her brother, Jonathan Taylor Thomas,
look up the Sitcom Study on any podcast app. Wasn't Joey Lawrence Blossom's brother?
That was a test, and you passed.
Actually, this reminds me of a movie also starring Emma Stone called Easy A. Mm-hmm. Kasi yung subject topic niya is the Scarlet Letter. So parang women who embrace their sexuality are being shamed for it. Parang ang dumi ng tingin, ang baba ng tingin sa kanila for just, embracing, just treating sex like a man. Parang ganon. Yun yung sa tingin ko kaya siya sinama because sex work is work. And napaka-plentiful pa rin naman these days ng slut shaming.
Oo.
Minsan, the way you dress, sasabihin nila na malicious ka or nang-aakit ka. Yung ganong mga misogynistic views about women and their being a woman. Parang lahat na lang is shame. Everything will be used just to shame women for just embracing who they are. So, pagdating dito sa Philippines, I think siguro dahil sa religious culture natin, kaya we can't really talk about it. It's taboo. So, maganda nga na may mga ganitong movies na lumalabas because it's about woman's coming into terms with her body, with her sexuality, and of course, her body, her rules, di ba? And ganun nga ka-backward ang Philippines kasi even the law nakikialam sa decisions about a woman's body. So parang it's really a statement and it deserves an open conversation.
Yes.
So, yon parang her body, her rules, ganon.
Tama. Actually, yun na nga yung message na nagre-resonate, I think, throughout the whole film is how parang nakakatawa kasi for a story that's set in a very quote-unquote backwards time frame or time period na yung struggle na hinaharap ni Bella in parang gaining or at least parang getting respect or getting recognized for the choices that she makes, na yung kanyang mga choices when it comes to how she wants to live her life is still happening today. Nakakatawa dito actually, and props goes to Mark Ruffalo kasi sobrang ibang-iba siya doon sa nakasanayan nating acting niya. Sabi nga niya dun sa actors niya kasama niya si Robert Downey Jr. na parang after niya dito sa pag-shoot ng Poor Things, kailangan niyang mag-deprogram ng todo kasi sobrang talagang umabot hanggang quote-unquote buto yung pagkakanuot ng character niya sa kanya. And alam naman natin from, how he's presented in the media, kahit siya din kung paano niya pinapresenta yung sarili niya, na hindi siya si Duncan Wedderburn. Pero yung part that I'm referring to is yung sinabi na ni Bella na pumaparaan siya nung wala silang pera in France by doing sex work. Tapos ang first na response ni Duncan is,
Parang ang dumi-dumi mo.
Yun, oo. Na parang ang dumi-dumi niya, na parang ano ba naman yan, bakit ka ganyan? And it's sad, at the same time, parang sadly funny, na we haven't learned much as a species all these years later, na ganun pa rin mag-isip ang mga lalaki or, individuals of the masculine persuasion towards women or anyone who identifies as feminine, na parang bakit kailangan silang yung slut shame, sabi mo nga kanina parang yung easy A, or bakit sila kailangang sabihan na hindi, ganito ka dapat kasi babae ka.
Parang they're trying to fit every woman in a mold.
Exactly.
Ganon, na ganito dapat, this is what ladylike manners is supposed to be. This is what you're supposed to be. This is how you're supposed to speak or how you're supposed to work for a living, ganyan, na nawawala na ng agency and hindi mo na alam ng babae kung saan sila lulugar sa mundo.
And I think there is a metaphor na ginamit nila in the film later on. Kasi nga, di ba, ang pinakita is si Bella umalis kasama si Duncan, nag-travel sila. So, itong si Willem Dafoe, yung kanyang quote-unquote father niya.
Yes, portraying Dr. Godwin Baxter.
Yes, Dr. Godwin Baxter.
Parang Dr. Frankenstein yung character niya.
Na siya yung basically bumuhay kay Bella using an operation.
Yes.
Now, nung nawala na si Bella, nagkaroon siya ng parang bago niyang experiment featuring Margaret Qualley. Margaret Qualley as Felicity. So parang siya naging kapalit ni Bella. Pero ang ganda ng point na sinabi mo kanina na society, primarily men who think they are in control of society, they keep on placing women in these boxes that they think women should be in. Kaya nakakatawa na nung hindi nila maturuan si Felicity, hindi matuto si Felicity the same way Bella did nung start ng film, na parang sobrang frustrated ni Godwin. At saka yung associate niya, si Max McCandles, played by Rami Youssef. So nung nag-experiment na sila dun sa bago nilang project, frustrated silang dalawa kasi parang bakit hindi, why can't you be like Bella? Parang ganun na it's a very telling image to see na in these days
they're molding women in their image.
Oo. Na parang bakit hindi ka katulad ito, kahit sa atin din may mga tao na parang bakit yung babae, ba't hindi ka maging katulad nitong other women that this person knows? Yung mga ganong
yung impossible pressures and expectations sa lahat ng kababaihan na dictated mainly by men.
And then when the women, they decide to talagang take control of their destiny, parang sila
they're being shamed for it.
Yun, oo. Pero what I love about this film, especially as we go towards its conclusion, is talagang nag-stand firm siya doon sa kanyang choice to live with her choices. Yan, especially may part dito na parang pinapapili siya na maging the old her, si Bella, dahil or may threats against her. So parang yun din pa. Pwede mo ding din yun na once a woman, decides to really take control of her life, parang the men, not all, I'm not saying everyone, pero men mostly, use terror force or violence.
Because they get threatened. And they don't want to be challenged.
Yun. And they think na since most women, unfortunately, they don't want to, of course, be victims of violence. I mean, sino ba? Parang hindi na lang nila paninindigan yung mga choices na gusto nila. And yun na nga, towards the end na she overcame that obstacle and decided to, embrace all yung past niya, yung kanyang pinagdaanan, and eventually this future na she herself decided for herself.
Yeah.
Yun. So, ikaw, in totality of the film, how did it speak to you in any other way besides what we talked about ngayon?
Yeah, I think I already mentioned how it affected me. Siguro, ang pinaka ko na lang dito is, this is a career-defining performance by Emma Stone. And all throughout, lahat ng cast, sobrang A-game sila lahat. Willem Dafoe, there was a joke in there na talagang napachuckle ako. Ako lang yata yung natawa, yung nakagets nun. Pero for the Marvel geeks, you'll get it when you hear it. And then, Mark Ruffalo, I'm just happy na medyo kumawala siya dun sa typecast sa kanya. Na parang the geeky, shy science bro. Or parang the awkward, endearing dad. Medyo out of character tong makikita ng Mark Ruffalo na to. I saw him like I've never seen him before in this movie.
Actually, yung ano, I mean, looking at his
filmography, no?
Parang wala siyang, ako maalala, wala akong makita dito na parang ganun siya ever. Wala.
Kaya nga, career-defining din kay Mark Ruffalo to eh.
Super.
So, this is a very career-defining project or film for everybody.
Everyone involved. Yes, I totally agree. Well, I guess you've taken the words straight out of my mouth na talagang sobrang ibang klase si Emma Stone dito.
Yes, ibang klase talaga.
She literally gives it her all. Talaga.
And more. I've never seen so much of her before.
parang okay. Pag nakita natin siya, yeah, we've seen you.
Yeah.
Capital Y-O-U. Tapos,
yung trailer, walang-wala yun sa mapapanood nyo sa... Pag napanood nyo na to, grabe. A must-watch talaga.
Akala nyo na dahil R16 siya in the Philippines, parang may mga kinat. No. This is... I think R16 is the new R18. Kasi... May
R18 pa ba na nare-rate dito?
Well, I mean, tiny sidebar lang. Nung dating pinalabas si Saw, merong R16 and R18 cut
Hala?
Nakakatawa nga Parang konti na lang Pero kasi, kailangan may R16 kasi hindi nagpapalabas pa rin.
For wider audience.
Hindi pa rin nagpapalabas ng R18 si SM.
Malilimit yung cinemas nila.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Of course yun, Mark Ruffalo. Talagang, I love him after this role even more. I want him to get more roles like this. Yung sobrang gago na swapang na douchebag. Kasi talagang, my God. As in, matutuwa ka para sa kanya Kasi nakikita mo na parang, ay shit, kaya mo pala to.
Tsaka, he looks like he's having fun.
Yun din,
In-embrace niya rin talaga yung pagiging sobrang manyakis na na obsessed Basta, sobrang grabe. Ibang-iba talaga sila dito.
Everyone the two leads at least, talagang, as you've never seen them before.
Actually, hindi nga ako masyadong na-distract dun sa prosthetic face ni Willem Dafoe
Hindi nga
Kasi it very much informs the story and his character.
That is true.
Kaya ang ganda, ang galing talaga ni Yorgos. Kung hindi ko lang love si Christopher Nolan, grabe, lakas ng laban ni Yorgos sa akin sa Best Director sa Oscars.
Actually. And for us, the movie, Poor Things, gets an A+.
The highest rating. It's up there.
Yep.
With the best.
It's a sure recommendation. As in talagang drop whatever you're doing and run to the nearest cinema to watch this. Talaga.
Kahit hindi ka woman.
Oo.
Kahit di ka feminist. It's a coming of age tale. So everybody can relate.
Oo, talaga.
It's about father and the daughter. It's about finding yourself and your place in the world.
Yes, totally agree. Okay, so let's leave the world of Poor Things behind.
I don't wanna leave.
Well, iwanan muna natin ng sandali siya.
Sobrang grabe yung world na to talaga. Parang magsistay talaga siya sa'yo
Actually, speaking of the world in itself, okay, confirm ko lang dun sa ating pinost natin about the BAFTAs recently. If I'm not mistaken, this film actually won Best Production Design. Yes, they did. James Price and Shauna Heath, production designers for Poor Things, they won the BAFTA for this film. And I'm pretty sure na sila na ang bagong frontrunner for Best Production Design in this year's Oscars. Kasi talagang I agree with you 100% the world is so it's a combination of being lived in and sobrang niyang parang wondrous na parang may pakiramdam na you've seen it before pero you can't wait to discover it more.
Sobrang niyang dreamlike.
Yun.
Para siyang Alice's Adventures in Wonderland.
Yun, parang ganon.
Ganon. And lalo na yung watercolor quality niya. Especially the colors, grabe yung palette nitong movie na to.
Actually, now that you mentioned that, may pagkaganon nga siya ng konti eh. Yung Poor Things, itong kwento na to, parang siyang Alice in Wonderland eh. Na the protagonist falls into a rabbit hole and, discovers these wondrous, sometimes things that are bad for her, things that she knows na is good for her, things that she knows is bad for her, but she still chooses to imbibe in. Yung ganun. It's about choice eh. Talaga.
It's about choice, yeah.
Anyway, baka hindi pa tayo makaalis dito sa
Ang sarap kasi niyang pag-usapan. But, I think we're gonna do an Oscar episode.
Yeah, we will.
So, we will talk about this again
soon. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about the Holdovers. A curmudgeonly instructor at a New England prep school is forced to remain on campus during Christmas break to babysit the handful of students with nowhere to go. Eventually, he forms an unlikely bond with one of them, a damaged, brainy troublemaker, and with the school's head cook, who just lost a son in Vietnam. Okay. This is the second of our prestige films that we're talking about in this episode.
Yeah, it's really Oscar season na. Kasi ito na yung mga contenders for Best Picture, performances, then from the actors. So, this is one of those films din talaga na that stuck with me. Yeah. So, Roy, what did you think of the Holdovers? You go first this time.
Sige. For me, the Holdovers actually, nakakatawa kasi this movie crept up on, I would think not just me, but on us both. Kasi we've been hearing about it so much na especially in the wake of yung sunod-sunod na mga panalo ni Paul Giamatti as Best Actor, na if there's a movie that could parang go toe-to-toe with Oppenheimer,
and Cillian Murphy.
Cillian Murphy, yes, exactly.
In particular.
Na, of course, before we watched this, we were already so curious about it.
And also, we were already set on Cillian Murphy winning. So parang here comes a new challenger. Kaya, let's see if what the buzz is all about. Parang ganun.
That's true.
Very buzzy to. Oscar buzzworthy talaga siya.
Oo, talaga. And just like Poor Things, we didn't watch any trailer of this film
or read any articles because this also came out last year. Sobrang late na lumabas dito nitong mga Oscar contenders eh.
Actually, kasi naglabasan sila nung yung headspace natin nasa MMFF pa. So, actually, mabuti na rin pala na may MMFF nun para hindi tayo na-spoil masyado sa mga lalabas na mga Oscar contenders. Pero anyway, yan. The Holdovers is one of the most quietly emotional films that I've ever seen. Sinabi natin dun sa nirelease natin na rating card recently na every year there's this one Oscar season film that just comes out of nowhere and hits you like a pile of bricks in the feels. Yung katulad nung Roma.
Saan mo i-compare siya?
Para siyang Roma, para siyang Marriage Story. Yung mga ganong, you're not prepared for this movie. Hindi dahil meron siyang parang epic, grand scale na mga set pieces or meron siyang sobrang Oscar-worthy na acting performance. Actually, it creeps up to you just when you think na you're so vulnerable watching a film like this. Kasi when you're watching a film, you connect with it. You parang take in it's everything, yung emotions na kino-convey niya, yung kung paano yung mga characters, ganyan. And the same way, parang ikaw din, na you give something back to the film, na parang, okay, sometimes this mirrors my experiences, or sometimes this reflects parang certain aspects of my life that I wish were true.
That you can relate to what the character is going through.
Yung ganon. And there is a point in this film na talagang it just hits you when you least expect it. Kasi i-disarm ka niya ng humor eh. Especially the first half hour or so.
Napaka-lighthearted niya nga eh.
Diba? Nung sa simula na... And just to give a bit of background. So kaya tawag nung movie title is The Holdovers. Is sila yung mga naiiwan sa isang school, boarding school, kapag Christmas break na walang mauuwian or walang pamilya, etc.
So, literally, actually, curious ako kung ano may ibig sabihin ng holdovers coming in. Tapos, na-realize ko na, okay, so these students na hindi makakauwi sa kanila, they are being held
over.
On campus over the holidays.
Yes, that's
over
true.
the Christmas break. Ganon. So, holdover, quite literally.
So, ito din, parang one more picture for our listeners. Di ba, pag Harry Potter, tuwing Pasko, sa lahat ng books and movies, pinapakita na nasa Hogwarts lang sila pag Christmas break. So, holdover sila.
Kasi Pasko. Wala silang mauwian.
Oo, ganon. So, yung first part nito, parang medyo patawa. Kasi ganun din yung signature ni Alexander Payne eh.
What else has he done ba?
Yung The Descendants ni George Clooney. Yan, na ganun din siya na, lalo na Clooney pa. Si Clooney may way ng pagpapatawa yun eh. Na ganito din, parang tinake in din niya yung parang Clooneyism. Ito si Paul Giamatti.
Na may parang profound humor.
Oo, parang ganun. Oo. Na ito naman si Paul Giamatti is a very, curmudgeon na professor in the school.
Parang misanthrope.
Siya, oo. Tapos, yung pinapakita na, okay, ayaw siya ng mga estudyante niya kasi ang baba niya magbigay ng score. Tapos, itong mga estudyante din niya ng iba, parang mga, mga asshole din. So, of course, yung people can relate to it. Ganun kanya dinidisarm eh. And then, when it gets to the part na talagang the feels start pouring in little by little, yung i-introduce kanya dun sa backstory nung si Angus Tully, played by Dominic Sessa.
One of the students being held over.
And actually, this is his introductory role.
Wow.
Sa film.
Film debut niya to,
Debut niya to.
Let me just say, na you may not know his name, pero wow, ang galing niya dito.
Yes, you will see more of him in the years to come.
He went toe-to-toe with the Paul Giamatti.
Oo.
That was not an easy feat.
Hindi, tabatan talaga silang dalawa. Pero yun nga, anyway, going back to yung yung eventual na parang dynamic nila. Etong si Angus kasi, yun nga, sabi dun sa description na sobrang damaged pero brainy siya na student. I won't spoil here why he's, quote-unquote damaged. Pero as the layers of this story get peeled little by little, dun mo makikita na yung ano yung hinahanap niya as a person, plus yung kung ano yung parang tingin ng character ni Paul Giamatti sa sarili na dahil ganito na siya, hindi na niya maibigay yon to anybody, either in a romantic setting or as a friend or in a family.
As a co-worker.
Oo. Na eventually, they learn to not just coexist, pero know na no matter what their differences may be, there is always going to be a time when you just meet the right people at the right time and they help you become the person that you were meant to be. Yun eh.
Parang they unlock you.
Yun, oo, true. That process of unlocking in the film, sobrang, hindi siya yung usual na pag-Oscars sobbing, na parang oh my God, I'm so touched by this. Hindi, siya para siyang
napaka-understated niya.
Oo, napaka-understated, napaka-muted niya. Pero ang poignant niya.
ang lalim.
Oo.
Tsaka grabe yung feels.
Super.
Sorry to use the term of the kids these days. Grabe yung feels niya kasi talagang, especially if you went through what the characters went through in this film, talagang, alam mo yon, yung need to connect with people.
Yes.
It's just inherent in all human beings. So kahit pa gaano ka misanthrope or gaano ka hindi people person yung tao, there's still yearning for that connection and for that understanding and acceptance.
That's true.
Actually, hindi nga acceptance kahit just to be seen and be acknowledged. Ganon. So, ganon yung struggle nitong 3 protagonists that we follow in this film. Actually, mas nag-hit siya sa'yo kasi sobrang emotional mo after our viewing.
Hindi lang ako. Shout out to our movie buddy, Mark. AKA Maganda Ba Movie. Na
parang isang push na lang iiyak na. Kasi siguro this speaks more to people who felt like they are misunderstood. Na people don't try hard enough to reach out to them.
That's true.
To get them. To understand
them. Yes.
And even to see them. Siguro this speaks to people who at one point in their lives felt invisible.
Or not just siguro invisible. Pwede din sigurong parang in pain. Invisible pain. Pero people judge them because of the pain that they're going through.
Yeah, I also told you this di ba? Parang hurt people.
Yes.
So sometimes, napaka-abrasive ng mga taong nami-meet mo. Pero in hindsight, marirealize mo na kasi meron siyang pinagdadaanan. And he's also in pain. Kaya sometimes, hindi niya na naiisip na nakakasakit din siya.
That's true.
So, ganun yung character kasi ni Paul Giamatti
Actually, silang tatlo din. Kasi itong si Dominic, Sessa, si Angus, Tully, yung kanyang pain is of course yung naiwan siya after being promised by his mother na they'd spend the holidays together. Tapos ito naman kay Davine, Joy Randolph, yung pain niya is because yung kanyang anak who also graduated from the school that she works in was killed in Vietnam. By the way, this movie is set in the 70s.
Ay, oo. Grabe yung tone setting nito. Umpisa pa lang. I don't want to spoil pero just watch out for that. Especially those who lived in the 70s and 80s. Sobrang nostalgic nito para sa inyo.
And for the film buffs out there, yung paggamit ng certain elements of film na very, very 70s.
Yung grainy quality.
Hindi lang yung grainy quality. Pati yung yung title cards.
Yeah. I love that.
This film feels like a 70s movie in the best way possible. Yan. Pero yun going back, yung tama ka na sa sinabi mo they are 3 people that are
navigating through pain.
Outwardly hurting. Kasi may isang namatayan, may isang misanthrope, tapos yung isa misunderstood. Yon. And it's this eventual unraveling of their defenses and their kanilang prejudices against each other. Okay, not necessarily racism, hindi. Pero yung kanilang yung teacher to student to teacher, student and teacher to staff, yung mga ganun na mga parang
napaka-unlikely nilang trio.
Yun.
Na you wouldn't really think of anything that they have in common pag nakita mo sila.
That's true.
They live in very different worlds.
Very different worlds, yes. Pero yung the way that they choose to see each other, not just see as in look, pero yung to understand each other. There's this part in the film na nag-side trip sila, tatlo.
Spoiler.
Minor spoilers. And yung character ni Paul Giamatti, yung si Paul Hunnam, he meets an old acquaintance and kasama niya dito si Angus nung nakita niya tong acquaintance niya. And the way that they connect with each other while talking to this other person na yung acquaintance ni Paul was parang in itself kita mo yung sa mukha ni Paul Giamatti na kahit siya na-surprise din siya na parang ganito pala yung pakiramdam ng kahit sandali or kahit sabihin fake quote-unquote na parang someone going to bat for you. Someone parang willing to step up for you. Yun kasi tama ka na sa sinabi mo din kanina na sometimes people in pain, they just want either a person to listen to them kapag meron silang hinaing. In most cases, people like that, they want or they're hoping na somebody parang just comes in and tells them that it's gonna be okay.
Fine.
Or in most cases, people like that, they just need somebody to go to bat for them. Damayan sila at sabihin sa kanila na hindi sila nag-iisa dun sa whatever na pinagdadaanan nila. Yun yung I think was parang portrayed so well dun sa scene that I'm talking about. Ikaw, you said actually to me after we watched this na parang you saw it differently. How, it deals with people in pain. You want to tell us more about that?
Actually, I already mentioned it kanina about, hurt people, and they just need someone to be there and not judge their pain, I guess. Okay, just a trivia pala. I just read it here on IMDb that Paul Giamatti was instrumental in getting Dominic Sessa cast as Angus. Siya yung nagpilit kay Alexander Payne na bigyan si Dominic Sessa ng audition. Kasi reluctant pa si Alexander Payne to cast him kasi nga wala siyang acting experience.
Tama.
And idol ni Dominic Sessa si Paul Giamatti kasi he was very nervous daw.
parang hindi naman, mukha namang parang game na game talaga siya all throughout the film.
Since this is set during Christmas, do you think this will be, a good Christmas movie na pwede mong ulit-ulitin parang It's a Wonderful Life, ganun?
I wouldn't say na feel-good movie siya. Kasi yun na nga, it deals with themes na sobrang parang ano bang pwedeng term doon?
Introspective?
Sobrang introspective niya. Sobrang personal. Yan. It's actually, if I can use the term na it's not a film that's meant to be shared communally. Hindi siya parang yung pwedeng panoorin ng barkada kayo Kasi you have to watch this na you are prepared to let the film speak to you on a personal level Kasi if you're going to watch this film in a way na parang one, yung hindi ka nakatutok dun sa sine. Two, parang you're taking what the movie's saying very, very lightly. Then what the movie is trying to tell will just go over your head and mamimiss mo yung depth nung kanyang message, yung connection that it's trying to build with its audience. This is a movie that deserves your full attention. This is a film that deserves to be seen in cinemas. Hindi to pwedeng yung scene na pinapos or parang pwedeng parts by parts panoorin. Kasi just like when you parang listen to someone that you want to listen to talk, you don't want to parang either interrupt them or stop them dun sa kanilang flow of yung stream of thought nila and while they're expressing their sentiments or whatever. The same way that this movie deserves you to just fully be parang given over to what it is trying to tell you. Kasi the same way that the protagonists of the film, these three broken people, are looking for someone who will just listen to them or at least damayan sila doon sa pain na meron nila. The audience in a meta perspective, parang this film deserves that its audience give its full attention to it. Kasi talagang you have to see it and you'll be rewarded handsomely for just parang devoting 2.5 hours of your time to just being with these characters. Kasi you are going to see yourself in these people, whether you like it or not, or whether you will parang admit it or not. any one of the three protagonists here is an avatar for the people who will be watching this film. And yung message niya is so important that people, take in, especially at a time like this where no one wants to listen anymore. Na people sometimes just need an ear that will just, not necessarily tell them that things are gonna be okay, pero at least just tell them na parang, hey, I'm here. I'm listening to you. You're not going through this alone. Yun. Ikaw, what did you think of the Holdovers?
I think basically it's all about human connection.
Mm-hmm.
And whether you admit it or not, you crave it and you yearn for it, and it's a need. You need it. You need to be connected to people. You can't be detached forever. Especially when you're in pain. It's the time that you need it most. When you're mourning, when you're alone, when you're lonely, and when you're angry.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes. You just need people to understand you, to listen, and be there for you.
Mm-hmm.
At least, hindi ka mag-isa. And yeah, I think this is really one for the books. And yun nga, maraming mahihit right in the feels dito sa movie na to. Not really, making light of it, pero talagang just mararamdaman mo na lang na tears are pouring down your face after watching it. And napaka-life affirming din niya in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Kasi kindness goes a long way.
That is true.
So yeah, when all else fails, just be kind. I guess. Yun yung pinaka-message siguro ni Alexander Payne dito sa story na to. By the way, is this an original screenplay?
Yes, it is. Original screenplay by David Hemmingson. Yep.
Actually, I would really recommend this to be a Christmas movie. Kasi sometimes you forget it. You take it for granted. Yung kapag when life's so fast-paced, you tend to forget real human connection.
Yes.
Kasi you're caught up with all these other things that you're busy about.
Mm-hmm.
You're busy doing. So, this is a good reminder to recognize the important things in life.
Yes.
Kasi especially na sa panahon ng social media na ang dami-daming social anxieties na nag-e-exist na sa multiverse of madness. So you need to not look around for answers. Meron siguro just look within.
Yes. And siguro to add to that in closing na lang, if there's anyone that's willing to reach out to you if ever you're going through that, siguro be willing to be open to to their presence, kasi you don't know na yun na pala yung thing na hinahanap mo yung presensya ng mga tao na makikinig lang sa'yo at iintindihin ka. Yun yung parang I think thesis statement nitong scene na to. Would you agree?
Yes. Openness din.
Yes.
You can't, no man is an island.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people, they come into your life for a reason.
Yes.
And wag ka lang, do not lose faith in people.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I think most of our listeners have seen our rating for this film as well.
Yes.
Pero kung hindi pa, we have also given this an A+. So another movie getting top marks.
Mm-hmm. Another Hall of Famer.
Another Hall of Famer from us. So, tama ba ako in saying na we have at least 2? Tama, no? Well, at least itong dalawang to, A+ na to. Pero, let me check our Letterboxd. Yun.
By the way, guys, we're on Letterboxd. So, if you wanna follow us there, then please go ahead.
At Cinegeeks Pod on Letterboxd. Yun. So, ito, Poor Things, The Holdovers, 5 stars, both.
Mm-hmm.
Dune Part 1, nung we recently rewatched it in IMAX.
Yes.
Gabi.
Spectacular. Grabe.
Super. We're also going to be talking about, I guess, spoilers na for our next episode. It's gonna be Dune Part 2.
Yes.
Next week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I guess that's it for Poor Things and The Holdovers. Okay.
And of course, by the way, before we end this episode, a bit of a housekeeping. Mag-shoutout lang tayo dun sa mga nag-comments from our previous episode, yung I Am Not Big Bird.
Yes.
Still in cinemas, by the way. So, from Cookie Trinidad, she said, I believe tama lang yung depth and everything na hindi masyado nag-delve dun sa mga relationship and friendships. Subtle lang, pero magigets ang context.
Yes. Also, we have Orange Jasmine Purple Yam saying na they disagree with the expectations on Luis Carpio's character. So that's Enrique Hill. He has insecurity with his size, so wasn't it in character that he's covered up?
Napaisip din ako doon. Actually, may point siya.
Tama. Yan. Tapos yung kay Noralyn, yun naman?
Noralyn Remion said, for me, okay naman lahat. Pang Hollywood nga nakakatawa sobra. Dami natawa sa sinihan. I don't think need pa ng lalim kasi sa panahon ngayon, need na ihiwalay ang drama.
Yes, ako naman, I totally agree with that. We desperately crave comedies na yung hindi naman kailangan may message lagi. Yun. Pero hindi din naman sobrang brainless katulad ng mga comedies of old na Filipino.
Na for the punchlines lang. And also, movies, for a lot of people, is an escape.
Yes. We can't forget that. Yan. And finally, we have our good movie friend, Vito as well, Vito Santos. Sabi niya, wow, super love this episode.
Wow.
Natuwa ako. Pakinggan yung dynamic yung apat. Ang perfect, saya, bardagulan Pero panalo talaga mga terms ni Goldwyn Saya.
Nako. Actually, meron tayong poll Ano pa bang mga nasa checklist ni Goldwyn?
Ayun lang. Dapat ito pala yung naging poll natin imbis na yung current na poll natin. Pero, just going over yung poll on the last episode na tinanong natin ang listeners natin, who is your bird kada bias? So, of course, the 4 characters, si Carpio, si July, si Maki, tsaka si Titi.
Yes.
So we already have 19 votes a total. Thank you sa lahat ng nag-vote.
Pero ito yung surprise. Neck and neck.
Si Carps at saka si July. Yeah!
Si Enrique at saka si Red
Oliero Supremacy.
Oh, grabe. Bias ni Goldwyn yan
Yeah. Nag-check lahat ng checklist niya. Yan. So,
thank you for voting. Sa poll natin, 19 votes.
Yes.
Yeah. And of course, we'll be having some of our other movie reviewer friends over to the podcast as well.
Yes. Watch out for them. Okay? We'll keep their identities a surprise.
Yes.
Pero if you think na you had fun listening to us talk about movies with Goldwyn and Mark, aka Maganda Mga Movies, well,
wait till you hear the others.
Yes. Sobrang mag-enjoy din kayo doon.
Yes.
Okay. So, well, again, I guess that's it for the movies today.
Yes. If you've seen any or both of the films we've talked about, please share with us what you thought about it. Comment it on our social media accounts or down below on our Spotify episode page.
And don't forget to set your players to automatically download our new episodes so you don't miss out on our fun Cinegeek conversations. And while you're at it, give us a 5-star rating on Spotify.
Baka naman.
Yes, and on Apple Podcasts din. If you had fun or you learned something new during this episode.
Yes. So for my co-host Troy, this has been Angela. Thank you for listening to the Cinegeeks Podcast, where movies, TV, and all things geek collide.